Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and it may be afternoon or it may be evening wherever you are. Whatever. For me, it's morning. So, it's very early in the morning, actually. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning, but I'm an early riser. So, let's get on with this, shall we? Behind me, it is finished. Ticky-tacky little houses, formerly known as Jenny Lane from the Missouri Star Quilt Company Block Magazine. I had some problems with this one, as you know, because I've talked about them, but it all came together pretty well. And now it's all layered, it's all bound, it's all quilted. And so I just want to pick out use this to show you a little bit of my thought process when it comes to quilting a quilt. Now, I'm a rank amateur, really. I've tried lots of things, but I always come back to the only way you're going to be able to do any free motion quilting is you have to practice. We all want to do feathers, okay? They're beautiful. I would love to be able to do feathers, but that takes practice. And are you going to commit the time that's needed to do that? My way of looking at quilting is this is an ongoing hobby. This is not something that I'm going to come to the end of and know everything and move on to something completely different. No, I'm always learning with this, and I think that's a good thing because I consider myself a lifelong learner. So this is part of that. So when I go to quilt a quilt, I have tried planning it. That doesn't work for me, which is kind of ironic because I'm a planner. I'm a list maker. So, you know, I get a general idea, an overall feel, if you will, of what I might like to attempt, and then I just start. And usually I change my mind partway through or several times through. And whatever comes out of it, comes out of it. It's an evolution. I refuse now, it wasn't always this way, but I refuse now to get uptight and think to myself, I'm going to ruin my quilt if I don't get my quilting perfect. Actually, every quilt that I've ever done, no matter how bad the quilting is, the final product still looks good. You just don't show those ones to experienced quilters, okay? Show them to people that know nothing about quilting, they'll think it's wonderful. But what I'm really saying is you gotta get over the fear factor and just plunge in and go. And with time, I'm sure you learn a few things, and I certainly have, and you get better with practice. So on this quilt, my original idea was to quilt these triangles here, the trees and the peaks of the houses and things, and I thought I'd use my ruler foot for that, and I'd do a triangle and then a triangle and a triangle, you know, triangles within a triangle echoing, and then I'd probably use my ruler foot for doing vertical and horizontal lines on all the houses, and then I wasn't yet sure what I was going to do in the negative space in the background. So I started that, and I actually, if you look at this quilt very closely, and you probably can't see this on the video, but this particular house is the first one I started on. I did use my ruler foot. I started doing the triangles, and they were coming out not too bad. And then I decided to get a little fancy and grab my wavy line ruler foot, or ruler, and tried this here with not bad success. And then I did the straight line. But as I got working on this, I realized if I was to do that same kind of thing for every piece on here, I would not be finished at this moment in time. So I abandoned that and I went with free motion quilting. And so I did basically the same idea, but I started to do like little loops instead, back and forth and vertically and horizontally. And I did free motion triangle echoing in here. So everything comes out looking a little uneven, a little squiggly, okay? But I kind of like it because for some reason, to me, this design dictates itself for something a little bit more childish, you know, like a kid scribbling in a coloring book kind of a thing. And that's what came to my mind as I did this. And so I accepted the fact there were going to be imperfections, and a lot of them. And I embrace the imperfections. They are part of my design now. And yes, that's what I'm telling people, but that was really my philosophy behind this. So after I got that in my mind, I had no fear. And I just went to town on this. Now, there's a lot of quilting in this. It's very heavily quilted because of the negative space. In here, I did echoed straight lines in around the designs of the various houses, and I just echoed them. And again, now those I did with a straight ruler. However, my lines are not too straight, and you'll find jaggies in them as well. But overall, it turned out fine. It's these little details that if you want to get picky, yeah, you can pull it apart. Will this quilt ever win an award? No, never. But did I make it for that? No, I didn't. I wanted to make a quilt that featured houses on it because I think that's kind of cute and different for what I usually do. So I did. And so it's not perfect, but it's done. And I'm very happy about it. Now the back of this is a very busy fabric. I use the same fabric on the backing and on the binding. And I really love this color and I love this fabric. But you cannot see the quilting on this because the color blended right in. Because I used a light tan thread on this. I'm still not quite to the point where I want to do something really bold where you turn this over and you see all the quilting, because you will also see all the mistakes as well. Here, you can't. But I don't want people focusing on the back of my quilts anyways. I want them focusing on the front. So it's done. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Very pleased, really. And yeah, another quilt to fold up, and I think I'll put it on the guest bedroom. Again, bed. If that bed can hold any more quilts without breaking, we'll see. Okay, some coffee time. So what else am I working on? So now that I've got that out of the way, I'm putting forth a more concentrated effort on Christmas gifts, because I don't want these things to be left to the last minute, especially considering that the Christmas gifts I'm making for people are, you know, all of them are time consuming. So I've already shown you one of the table toppers. This is kind of a series. They feature the little gnomes, Christmas gnomes, a bit whimsical. And here's one that is done, and I think I've shown this to you before. And it is a table topper. And another little trick that I am learning for myself. You know, it's very tempting to make something like this and do, I guess, what do they call it, a pillow style or blanket style kind of backing, where you put, you know, put your layers together but put them together inside out, wrong sides out kind of a thing, and sew around, leave an opening and pull them right sides out, that kind of thing. And it kind of makes a little bit of a binding if you top stitch all the way around. And I do that on a lot of little projects like this, like table runners, placemats, table toppers, things like that. But here's what I have found when I do that. They don't come out perfectly square. Especially like the corners. Yes, I trim the corners to, you know, get the points out and everything like that. But the process of when I start to quilt it, it tends to, as quilting does, you start in the center, it pushes the fabric out to the edges, and I get kind of wonky edges when I do that. So I decided, nope, for these, since they're going to be gifts, I did regular binding. And, you know, really, although it takes a little bit more time, it doesn't take that much more time, and I think the finished product is much nicer. Your placemat, your table runner, whatever you're doing, doesn't come out as wonky. So here's the other series. These ones I call my Elegant Santas in the center. The fabric I've used here is a little bit richer, I think, than the other. Might be a tad over busy. Walter says your eyes don't really focus as much on the embroidery. That's probably true, but I still like it. So now these I have not, these are just the tops. I have 4 tops done. Next thing is I've got to, well, the other 3 in the Gnome series and the 4 in the Santa series all need to be layered, backing, layered, quilted, and then bound. So that's still going to take me some time, but I'm getting there. Now, that gives me 8 in total. I think I'm going to have to make a couple of more. But that brings us to a little problem that I have, and it's in the title. Yes, I'm having a little bit of an embroidery machine problem with my 550E. Now, those of you that have been with me for a while know all about my MC 15,000 Janome, the combination sewing machine, embroidery machine, the big expensive machine. It was my dream machine at one point in time, and all the hell I went through. with that when the embroidery just refused to work anymore. This is not the same problem. This is a stupid problem. This is not a problem with the machine, it's a problem with the user. And I don't know how I did this. It is a mystery to me. So, I'm merrily embroidering along, everything's going along fine. My thread breaks. That's fine. That happens, okay? So, go back in, I rethread my machine, get it all started, it's going, and then I look at the top of the machine and realize, oh, a couple of threads from, I was using a thread stand that holds 5 spools, and it looked like a couple of my threads had sort of somehow gotten wrapped around the bobbin winder a little bit. So I stopped the machine. Now, I never used the bobbin winder on my 550E because I used pre-wound bobbins for it, for most things. And so I'm looking at this, and it looks like the thread that I am sewing with and the thread next to it that's sort of just hanging there because I've already used it, kind of a deal. The two somehow touched each other and dropped down into the bobbin winder hole where the shaft for the for the bobbin winder comes up through the machine. Somehow those threads went right down and wrapped themselves around, I'm not sure what it is, it's probably the shaft that's attached to the flywheel, to the point where I can't move the flywheel freely, which means the needle will not go up and down freely. Well, you know I said a few words at that. How could that have happened? It was a freak thing, but of course it would happen to me, only me. I don't know how I did it, how that happened, but that means now the 550E is in at Shirley's to be fixed. And this is probably going to cost me. Now, I don't think anything's broken inside. I just think that my theory is the thread is just wound around something and it needs to be pulled apart and cleaned out. That could be a big job because Walter looked up the service technician's manual online for it to see if he could do it. And he went, there's a lot of pieces that have to be taken apart for this. And I says, no, we're giving it to a professional. So I'm not sure when I'll get it back. I didn't get it in until Friday afternoon. Usually takes about a week, depending on how busy Roy is. That's the technician that works for Ultimate Sewing that fixes things. Roy's excellent. And yeah, I'm anticipating this is going to cost me a couple $100. Yeah. And while it's in there, I asked them to clean it and tune it up as well. Might as well have the whole kit and caboodle done at once, right, when you're in there. So yeah, so I'm without an embroidery machine right now. Yeah, I could use Walter's, but I don't like using his things, you know, because I'm such a klutz. It's one thing I wreck my own stuff, it's another thing to wreck somebody else's. So anyways, that's okay. I don't have any pressing embroidery to do right at the moment. That gives me a chance to focus on these table runners and get the, you know, the quilting done on them and the binding and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if I come near a machine, watch out. I'm a jinx. Really am. Always have been. Okay, so what else? Well, we had Craft and Chat last week. A few newbies on there, which is great. Always welcome new people. And it's generally good time. Everybody worked along. We got a lot done. I got a lot done. Learned a few things as well by talking to people. And it's just fun. So if you've never been to one, but you've thought about it, don't think about it, just do it. First Wednesday of every month. I think the next one will be, I'm not sure what the date is, whatever the first Wednesday is of September, from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. I put out the Zoom link on all my different series on my channel about a week before, and you just drop in whenever you feel like it. And speaking of that, I am not making any promises here, but I am just in the preliminary stages of thinking about and putting down on paper my ideas for an Idiot Quilter late September, early October retreat. Christmas will be the theme. To make Christmas, I'm looking for a catchy title. You know, I don't want Christmas in September. You know, people do that all the time. Christmas in July, Christmas in August. But, you know, it's an opportunity for people to work on possibly their Christmas sewing or Christmas crafts, Christmas projects, you know, because we always say we're going to start early and we never do we? We're always scrambling to the last minute. So that's what I think it's going to be. Yeah, there's no more I can talk about it right now because it's all up here. But it's going to take a slightly different format and procedure from the one I did in the spring. We'll see. You'll be the first to know. I will let you know. Okay, and we went on a little sort of day trip, overnight trip to the Niagara Falls area. And I talk all about that on my vlog if you're interested. But on the way home, we stopped in Burlington, which is, you know, on the way, it's kind of halfway between where I live and where Niagara Falls is. And there is a quilt store there. It's actually called the Quilt Store. But I have dealt with them before, mostly online near thequiltstore.ca. I think I have reviewed them on here. I'm sure I did. Really like them. They're good. They have a good supply online. And they do have 2 brick and mortar stores, one in Newmarket, which is a town about an hour away from me, and then this one in Burlington, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours from me. And I happened to see, wasn't really intending to go to any fabric stores when we were away because there weren't that many in the area. Well, there was none really, except for this one. And I've got a ton of fabric. I never thought I'd say it, but now I hesitate about buying fabric. One, I'm out of space to put it. And 2, my God, it's becoming a hoarder thing now. But I did see this new line. I think it's by Northcott. It's a batik. Banyan. Batiks, I think I'm saying that right. Banyan. Banyan. Whatever. Batiks. Called Luster. Oh, it is gorgeous. The line. So I noticed that the quilt store had it, so I thought I'd take a chance, see if they had it in their store. Well, they didn't. In the one in Burlington, they had it in Newmarket, but they didn't have a lot of it. And I just decided I wasn't just going. I could have ordered it right there on the spot, but I decided not to. So when we took the sewing machine, the embroidery machine, into Shirley, I asked Shirley about the line. She hadn't seen it, but now she's ordering some of it because she loved it too. And I told her, whatever you order in, I said, just let me know when it comes in because I'll be in to get, you know, some of it anyways. So, yeah, it's just pretty. I've got a lot of pretty fabric here and I haven't decided what to do with it yet. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit in today's sort of demo section about, first of all, quilting. The way I've already explained how I baste a quilt. I used to do it just by spray basting. Now I do spray basting and I do pinning. And I have to say, pinning is the way to go. Yes, it is a bit tedious, a bit time consuming, putting them in, taking them out. But I can tell you this, since I started pinning, I have very few, if any, tucks. And if I get any tucks at all, they're really tiny with it. So the pins do work. And I know some of you are saying, yeah, they've been doing that for years. Well, I haven't because I was trying to avoid it. But I guess there are certain things that have been tried and true. Stick with them. So I just want to talk very briefly about the pins I like the best. Now, these are the curved safety pins meant for quilting. And you can see them. I get the 1.5 inch size. They do have 1 1/4 inch. These are drits. They come in a package like this. And if you want a good deal on these, go to Cleaner Supply. I think it's in my show notes. It'll be in the show notes of So Chatty. Just do a search, Cleaner Supply. They have a US outlet. They have a Canadian outlet. Things like this, ridiculously cheap. Walter ordered me 7 packages of these. There's 40 in a package. And I think they were retailing at about $2.98 or $3.98 a package. That's a considerably less than you'll pay for them in a quilt store. You can pay about $9-10 in a quilt store for the same thing. So yeah, that was a good deal. And I've got, as I said, Walter ordered me 7 boxes, so that's 280 of these, plus all the other ones that I have. So I've got enough pins to pin any size. But these I like the best. However, I did show you this a week or 2 ago. I bought a package of these. These are expensive little buggers. these fancy ones by Clover with the plastic on them and the whole bit, supposed to be easier. Well, I do use them, but I wish they were a 1/4 of an inch longer because I find these too small. And this little catch that they go on, there's a little prongy thing up here. These go under there, and you can very easily overshoot it, I found. So, and a package of 20 of these, I think runs, I paid $26.99. I saw them on Amazon for, I think, $24.99. They're expensive little items. So yeah, I'm not buying any more of these. If they come out with them in a larger size, I might buy a package. Just try that. But the other thing in conjunction that I do with these, and a lot of people complain, you know, you're putting them in, your thumb gets sore. If you're someone with a nice manicure, nice nails, you can break a nail very easily. If you've got any arthritis in your fingers, it makes pinning very difficult as well. Well, this has been around for 100 years too. Quick clip is what it's called. And I did show this last week, but I'm just talking about it in conjunction with the basting pins. This makes life so much easier. You stick your pin in, you put the edge of the point, just lay it on here, press down, bang, it's clipped in. And equally as easy to pull your pins out. This is worth the money. It's overpriced for what it is, but isn't everything? I think I paid $18.99 on Amazon for it. You might be able to get it cheaper in other places. I don't know if there are knockoffs of this. This is the original. But if you're interested, all you have to do is put in Quick Clip and spell it with a K. K-W-I-K-K-L-I-P. And you can pick one of these up. It works brilliantly with the quilting pins. Well, that's what it's meant for. So that's my little demo sort of tip thing of the week. Those are great tools. Okay, so another one I want to talk about is something I got from Missouri Star Quilt. I got a big order from them, and in that order they had something called heat erasable pens. I'm always looking for the ultimate marker for quilts, and sadly chalk still is #1, I think, but chalk disappears very fast. But I bought some of these. I bought one in black, I bought one in white. They were not expensive. I think $2.98 or $1.98 US. They were $1.98 US. So, you know, closer to what, about $2.50 for me in Canada. And they came with a extra refill as well. And great. So I tried them out. Now the thing is, I just took a piece of scrap fabric, I just scribbled on it and applied heat, and it did disappear. Well, these are exactly like friction pens. And on the back of the package, this is what put me off. It said, well, two things. Ink expires 4 months after purchase. Well, really? Okay. And ink will disappear when exposed to 180-degree iron. Using a hairdryer or a tumble dryer will remove ink in hard-to-reach places. In rare instances, marks can remain after heating. If necessary, hand wash to remove ink. Okay, I don't like that idea either. That can happen with friction pens as well, and other marking pens. Ink will reappear when exposed to freezing temperatures, and that's exactly what happens with friction pens. These are a knockoff of friction pens. Now it does say the ink dissolves permanently when washed. That's not something you get with friction pens to my knowledge. So I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. And I don't think I'm going to bother because I didn't like the way they marked, and the white one doesn't work. It was in a sealed package and the whole bit, but I can't get it to work. I can't get it to write no matter what I try. I'm glad they were only $1.98 because basically these two things are useless to me. So they're by a company called Allary, A-L-L-A-R-Y. I've never heard of this company, but be careful. When you buy things, this can happen with any company, but sometimes prices are too good to be true. because friction pens are not particularly cheap, original friction pens. That's why I picked these up, $1.98 to try them. The other thing that I picked up on Missouri Star Quilt were these glass head pins. Another really great bargain. And I've bought glass head pins before off of Amazon and other places, and they're expensive. Well, these were like something like $3.98, I think, American, might have been less. 210 glass pins. I bought 3 of these packages because these are the pins I'm using in my pin cushions that I'm going to be giving away as Christmas presents. So I thought glass head pins would be nice. These are cheap. These are cheap. They're very, very thin. They bend very easily. They really don't even feel like a glass head pin. They are, so they won't melt if you hit them with an iron. But yeah, you should know better. If the price is too good to be true, the price is too good to be true for a reason. And what I'm saying is you got to watch out for things like that. Know your prices, know your brands, that kind of stuff. I'm really surprised that Missouri Star Quilt Company, who seems to pride themselves on selling you, you know, top quality products, would deal with something like these pens and these pins, especially the pens. Okay, the pins, you can live with that, but these, no, you can't. So just beware of it. And like I said, this is not unique, I'm sure, to Missouri Star Quilt. It's just I was a little disappointed because I associate Missouri Star Quilt with quality products. Maybe they've never had a complaint about these. Maybe I got a bad batch. I don't know. But just reading the back of it, if I read the back of that in a quilting store, I wouldn't have purchased them because there's too many things that can go wrong with them. Okay, more coffee. So, subscribers quilt of the week. Okay, I got an email from a man in Australia, Victoria, Australia, been there, named Doug, and he sent me some pictures of quilts that he does, but he does in the hoop quilting, and very elaborate quilts that are embroidered basically, and they're very, very beautiful. His wife does them as well. They're both majorly into using embroidery machine for quilting products and things like that. So much so, Doug was sending me a lot of pictures of both his work and his wife's work. And I appreciate the pictures because looking at his stuff is gorgeous. I've actually asked Doug if, you know, he would consent to an interview. Doug's over 70, I think. Great for him. He and his wife are staying active by doing this. That's wonderful. I think that's very admirable. And so he said he had to check with his son about setup and equipment. So maybe someday I'll be able to do it. Of course, the other problem we have too is the time difference between where he lives in Australia and my location here in Canada. But I mean, we worked around that when I interviewed Johan, who is from Australia as well. So we'll see down the road. But I did tell Doug, thank you so much for your pictures and everything, but please stop. He has a lot. And I really didn't know how I was going to present this to you without it making it a show unto itself. I almost did that. I thought of taking all his pictures, making a slideshow, and putting up a special edition of the Idiot Quilter. And I might do that in the future. But you know, I have other people that send me their pictures too. I don't want anybody to feel slighted because everybody that sends me stuff, all of their stuff is beautiful. So what I did was I told Doug I was just going to pick a couple and feature those, you know, ones that I thought people should really, really see out of the collection that he sent me. And so that's what I have done. And here's the final result of that. This week's subscriber quilts come from Doug, who lives in Victoria, Australia. He sent me a lot of pictures of his quilts, and they have all been done on his embroidery machine, and I believe he has a 550E Janome. So you can see here that they're very, very intricate. And he says, "Hi Stephen, just finished edging baby animals a cot quilt. First time I used the Janome quilt binding set, had to watch the YouTube and a couple of times to get it in my head. Haven't got around the corner thing going yet, but I will practice it a few times to get ready for the floor rug. I used a carousel 12-piece set 4x4 for the stippling on the back. Have used a different pattern off
circles for stipple on back of the rug, and we'll send pics of that when I finish binding. To save the carousel pattern coming through the top feature, I have sewn it on separate, using the edges of several panels to secure it to the back. And Doug goes on to explain his method for doing all of these quilts, which is very interesting, and I find it very interesting because I would like to give a try at doing something like this as well. But he also included some pictures of his wife's quilts as well, which are also all embroidered. Now, she did these quite a few years ago, and I'm not sure, I'm just looking at his notes that he sent me, and I'm not really sure whether or not she did these by machine or by hand. No, she did it by a Janome MC 8000, and her current machine is an MC 1100 SE. Both of them are fine embroidery style quilters. As you can see, hours and hours of intricate work. And there are more pictures than just these, but for the sake of time, I kind of picked the ones out that show off, I think, the best their skill at doing this kind of quilting. So thank you very much, Doug, and thanks to your wife as well for sending me those pictures of very, very beautiful quilts. So that takes me to the shout outs for this week. There is a link to So Chatty, episode 20 that we did on Friday. And that's where I talk a little bit more detail about, the embroidery machine problem got me thinking of a topic about stupid things that people do, that includes us, with sewing machines. So stupid sewing machine tricks. So we talk about all kinds of the things that you do, whether you're a beginner or advanced, sewer. These are things that just happen. And a link to this week's YouTube channel of the week, Quilting in the Loft. There is a link to the Idiot Quilter Presents. This week's interview is with a fellow member of the Quilter's Way, Tauna McBee, and it's a great interview, so do check that out. It's up now, and the link is here. And I am now, I have one more interview. I'm doing an interview later today. That'll go up next week, and then I'm out. So, as I've been saying, like a broken record for weeks, please, 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 please consider letting me interview you. Remember, I just want everyday people. I'm not looking for people who make a living out of doing quilting or sewing or that kind of thing, or who have, great YouTube channel or are known as a guru in their field. I want you, because I think we learn more from those of us who are still in the process of learning. Okay, and there is a link to the pattern I'm going to show you in a few minutes, and to the fabric store, the online fabric store. I'm going to talk about that as well. And then there's my usual links to my three of my favorite fabric stores. Okay, so that takes me to this week's YouTube video of the week. This is one done by a lady who doesn't live that far away from me. She's a Canadian. She lives in Ontario. And it's called Quilting in the Loft, and it's a relatively new website. So check this out.
This week's YouTube channel of the week is one that I think I may have mentioned in passing before, but now I'm going to look at it in a little bit more detailed. It's called Quilting in the Loft, and this is by a Canadian lady who doesn't live all that far away from me, just west of me by about an hour and a half. And I discovered this by complete accident. And I have found it very, very informative. She gives a lot of great tutorials, and you can see, if we go to her video section, that she has a variety of projects. Her latest one is a DIY water bottle tote, but she has the log cabin she shed, and she has a series on this, as you can see right here. And it's very interesting, and she has a free pattern for doing this as well. So that's kind of neat. I did download it because I kind of wanted to give that a try at some point, because I love log cabins and I love little houses, as you know. But she also has tutorials on other things like half rectangle, triangle, send drawing with your sewing machine. She doesn't have a lot of videos yet, as you can see, because she's pretty new. She does have an introduction talking about herself, and so she looks like she only started this channel about 3 months ago. But she does have lots to offer, and I'm just checking her playlist, and there's the tutorials for the she shed. And I think this is a site to be watched for. She only has just over 1,000 subscribers because she's very new, but we could help her grow this by subscribing to her channel, because I think this channel shows a lot of potential, and that's why I want to bring it up. I want to help a fellow content creator who is just getting onto YouTube now grow their channel. So check out the Quilting Loft.
And that takes me to what's on my vision board this week. Well, this is another bag. It's called the Mini Charm Carry-All. And there's a picture of it there. A fairly simple quilted tote bag. But it's made with mini charms. And mini charms are about 2.5 inches, I think. Or are they 2 inches? I think they're 2.5 inches. Blocks. And like a charm pack, but it's half the size. And this whole quilted bag is made using those. I thought that'd be kind of interesting because I've never worked with mini charms before. Of course, you can probably adapt these instructions to fit whatever fabric that you have. It's got inside pockets to it as well, and some other features that I thought would be interesting to try. This is not one by Annie. This is by Diana Kenunen. I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly, but I did put a link. I bought this pattern from, where did I get this pattern from? Country Concessions, I think, is where I bought it. They're a place here, I believe, in Ontario. I think so. We'll soon find out, because Country Concessions is, I think, the place that I know that I'm reviewing today, the online store. But just do a search for it, and I'm sure you'll find it. Oh, no, sorry. I'm so screwed up this morning. This is from cottagequiltingonline.com. There's a link in it. That's where I bought this one from. And they, if I remember correctly, they had a lot of patterns for different types of bags and things. So I bought several from that company. Okay, so that takes me now down to checking my notes. Where am I? I mentioned the fact that I have the interview for Tauna McBee up on my YouTube channel now. Check her out. But here's a little teaser of our discussion.
So what's your favorite creation to date and why?
Well, well, I just gave my husband a Quilt of Honor, which I have sitting behind me, which I'll be happy to show you.
I would love to see it.
And that was, there's the Quilt of Valor group. And
Right.
they have specific things that you have to do to have it be a Quilt of Valor. So this one is not that, but it's the same concept. It was thanking him for his service. And it was because of another member in our Quilters Way that I was able to do this as a panel. Make sure I have it upside down here.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Love that panel.
Well, it was Dana Lee that suggested I look for a panel because I had a very short period of time.
Yeah, but that is great. And did you
panel,
quilt that yourself?
No, sir. I have a new friend from Guild that has a long arm.
Ah, okay. It's always good to have friends.
And that takes me now to one of my quilts that I'm going to tear apart, critique. Actually, I don't really tear this one apart, but this was an unusual quilt. One, I made it reversible, probably by accident. And it is a scrappy quilt, but it looks like it has a pattern. So here's my review of this quilt, which I call Wild and Loud.
This week's quilt of my own that I'm going to critique, I call Wild and Loud. Imagine that. How do you think I ever came up with a name like this for this one? So how this one started was I was doing some scrappy crumb quilting leftover strips, as you can see in the center of this. And I'd made a bunch of these, and then I thought, well, what am I going to do with them? So I just sat down and did some improvised quilting with this. I just put pieces together, added sashing, and it grew from there. As you can see, I had absolutely no design idea whatsoever in my head, and I thought with this combination of colors and what I was doing with it that this was going to turn out to be a complete mess. Well, actually, it's one of my favorite quilts. One, it's very unusual. Two, it's my own design. And three, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and it turned out. So let's look at it a little closer so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. The center part, the whole quilt was inspired by just these random blocks I was making from bits and pieces of scrap fabric. And from there I thought, well, what would it look like if I put those all together? Well, it was a real mishmash. When I first laid it out, I didn't have any sashing, so I decided some sashing would be a good idea. However, these blocks are all irregular in size, so to make them fit into something that's somewhat organized, I used what they call coping strips, and you can see that right in here. That's where you add strips of fabric to make up the measurements that you want. From there, I just added a border, and again, this was a scrappy border. I think this was actually one of these types of squares that I decided to cut into strips, and that's how I got that particular effect. Then it started to grow even further, so I added another border. But then I wanted to make it a little bigger, and I thought, what can I do to extend it but make it look interesting? So this is actually a strip border that I cut in the diagonal, and I think I saw this on a YouTube video and liked the effect. So I just copied it, stole it, you might as well say, and created these triangular points, which are really not separate pieces. It's just the way that these stripped pieces were cut to create this unique border. Then I added another border. And then I added another border. Now this one gave me some trouble because I wanted to do flying geese, but trying to get the math right so that they looked even on both sides meant I had to add these pieces to it here. And don't ask me how it came out with these little lines across diagonal each corner, but they did. And then I just finished it off with more borders, and you can see that I bound it in looks like a K-facet fabric as well. But I had so much fun doing this part of it that I did the back as well. So let's see if I can flip over to the back here. And there it is. And it's wild and loud as well. This, of course, is just strips of fabric sewn together into blocks. And you see it does create sort of a pattern, but there is no rhyme nor reason really to the pattern. And of course, more strips to fill it out so it would fit as a backing. So in a sense, this is a reversible quilt. As far as quilting is concerned, I just stuck to, and you can see it here, straight line and wavy line using my walking foot. I didn't do anything more with it, which is probably just as well because really this quilt's busy enough. So that's wild and loud.
So, you know, sometimes when I start to play with fabric, it works out. And I guarantee you'll never see another quilt like that one. So don't ask me for a pattern because I don't have one. It just made it up as I went along. Okay, so this week I'm featuring an online fabric store called Concessions. I have ordered from them before. And yeah, it's, well, why am I blabbling on about it? I do that in a little video clip. So here it is.
This week's quilt shop that's online is called Concessions Quilt Shop. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you I have never, ever ordered anything from this site. So this is my first glance at it. So I'm going to try to get a feel for this quilt shop to determine whether or not I do want to order from them sometime in the future.
This is located in Cookstown, which is in Ontario, and it's not all that far away from me, probably about an hour's drive or so. So, as you can see, they have a very splashy opening page that shows you inside of their store, and right off the bat, I must say I would like to visit this store because it looks fairly impressive given the way the pictures have been taken. Looks like they have a great deal of fabric, and it's all very well organized. Let's go down a little further. Cut goods are sold by the half meter, so that's good. So when you're ordering something, it says, for example, 1 meter equals 2 units. So that's good to know. Most online quilt stores I have found sell by the half meter, and they are in meters, and they are Canadian, so I'm happy to see that they're doing it in meters. Looks like they post different events that they're having. Shannon's birthday party extravaganza on the August 1st to 31st, so the whole month. And it looks like they have a variety of different things planned for that as well. So they seem to be a very active store. They have patterns listed here, and of course notions, and they look like they have Benetex fabric as well, which is a very popular brand, and lots of other things. You know, it says quilt samples need a new home, so they sell their quilt samples as well. So if you want to buy a quilt for somebody, you could do that here, and they show you what they have available. Don't have a lot left, but they probably sell very fast. New arrivals, and it looks like they're getting into their Christmas line right now, and this is August when I'm posting this, so yep, need to get out the Christmas fabrics. And they've got the Halloween and autumn. Oops, sorry about that, I flipped my button here. Just let me get back in here. Okay, it's not letting me go back in, and there we go. Okay, sorry about that. I'm all thumbs. So they also have some licensed ones, Disney, and it looks like Peanuts. And some they're calling Last Chance with reduced prices, so they do have sales. And I like here they're telling you how many units they have in stock. So you are not surprised if you want, say, for this one has 5 units, which means it has 2.5 meters, and you want 4. Well, you know, you can't get that. And that's better to find that out right at the beginning than to find that out when you go to checkout. They have wide back, look cozy back or cuddle, I guess, precuts, and notions. Okay, so bobbin machine needle threader. They've got a little video about that. Okay. Kona Solids. Toscana. I love the Toscana line by Northcutt. So right there on their home page, you've got quite a variety of things you can do a quick click to. So let's get right into their shopping section. Fabric is 45 inches, wide backs 58 to 128 inches. Precuts, they have fat quarter bundles, jelly rolls, layer cakes, charms, mini charms. They have panels, they have batting and stabilizer, they have kits, they have patterns, they have notions. Looks like they have a really good variety of things. Let's take a look at their wide back batik, just out of curiosity, and see what that costs. Sold by the half meter, okay. $17.50 for this particular one that came up. So that's, what's that, $35? That's expensive. I pay about $24.25 at Ultimate Sewing, so that's pricey. And that seems to be all they have in the batik wide backs, but they probably have others as well. I didn't click on the other ones. I don't know if we need to explore their fabric any further because we've already seen a lot of this on their home page, but it looks like they have quite a bit to choose from. But let's go to the precuts because you know I love precuts, and check out their jelly rolls, and let's just see what kind of selection we have here. And we've got what you would expect pretty much. They have a lot of Moda ones. Free Spirit. Yeah, actually they seem to have a very good selection. Price-wise, I'm not really sure. if these are good or not. For example, Grunge Junior Jelly Roll, Moda, color change, 20 pieces, $42.99. I don't know if that sounds a little pricey to me. The Captain Marvel ones, well, yeah, I could see that because it's a licensed fabric. Let's see something more in the K-Facet 40 piece, $59.99, 60 bucks. Yeah, well, I guess they're in the ballpark. But I don't necessarily see myself running off to their website to pick these up because I think I can get them cheaper at Ultimate Sewing or some other places as well. But they do have a fairly good variety. And continuing on in shopping, let's look at panels. Okay, if I can get this to stay. Let's look at Christmas panels since we did see they had Christmas fabrics. And what do they have to pick from this? Okay, well, not a lot. I've seen this one before and this one before. I've seen them all before, so, but let's see if I can get them all up here on screen. So I think if I cancel out Christmas, and now this may give me a better view of all the types of panels. Yeah, here we go. Do I see anything that's jumping out at me? Well, there's kind of interesting. Go Batty craft panel. And utterly adorable. Looks like you make little stuffed things with that. They do have kitchen towel material. And yeah, this one I own, Catitude. I didn't buy it from them, but I haven't done anything with it. Not a bad selection, not a huge selection of all of those kind of things. Okay, let's check out. Okay, let's just see what they charge for batting. So let's see, 108 cotton poly, $11. So I imagine that is a half meter, so that'd be about $22 a meter. Wide back cotting. That's with scrim. $22 for cotton poly blend. I imagine that's the 80-20 blend, and that's what I often use. Fusible. Yeah, I think their prices are about standard when it comes to batting. Yeah. So, what else do we have here? Let's take a look. Kits. Okay, let's look at some quilt kits, see what they have as far as selection is concerned. Prices are about standard too for those. Yeah, they have quite a few, but none of these are really jumping out at me as if I must have. So, in fact, I find them a little bit on the boring side. They're mostly very geometric with it. But then again, if that's your style, that's your taste, then this you might be interested in. And what else do we have? Okay, let's look for patterns. Oops, a little fast there. Now it looks like they have, well, they have quite a few different patterns. Again, nothing is really standing out as unique. I've seen a lot of these patterns before. And prices are, again, all their prices seem to be within the ballpark of what other places sell. Yeah, nothing really astounding there, but still, they have quite a few to choose from. So let's look also, I wanted to look here as well at, they have purses and bags, pajamas, books, and they have more. So let's look at the books. And yep, pretty much standard. Not a lot of books to choose from. Okay, so let's take a look at their About Us and see what they're all about. Oh, here's nice. There's a picture of the outside of their shop. I don't think I've ever been there. I might have been there once, but I don't really remember. So they give you some basic information about how they're handling COVID. Wondering where we're located. Cookstown, Ontario, just a 5-minute jaunt off Highway 400 west along County Road 89. And their history, they opened in '94. Darlene was a true visionary. In 2011, the store changed ownership and continues to build on its roots, expand, and keep pace with ever-changing quilting industry. Cynthia's business background, entrepreneurial spirit, and Shannon's retail experience and creative whimsy together make for a lively co-ownership team that strives to offer customers a consistently excellent and memorable experience. No, I don't think I have been to this one. It just looked familiar, but I think I know which one I was thinking of. So it might be worth the drive. Basically a lot of blah blah about what they have. And questions, they look like they're helpful. They're looking to join a sewing club or take a class, learn something new. So it looks like they do have classes when they're not in lockdown, it says. And of course, you can stay up to date with them on their Facebook or Instagram. So let's see, down here in the quick session, I'm looking for shipping. There's shipping right there. Flat fee shipping, $7.99 on orders under $149 before tax, and free shipping on orders over $149.99 pre-tax. So that's not bad. So that's pretty good. So overall, I think this would be a store that I would like to go and visit, and it's definitely one I'm going to keep on my list as a potential for ordering from. Yeah, so you might want to check it out, and the link for this store for Country Concessions is in my show notes.
So what's coming up this week? Well, I'm going to carry on with the table toppers. I do have plans for a Christmas quilt, and I have found the pattern I think I'm going to use, which isn't actually technically a Christmas pattern style, but it's a star, it'll work. And I'll talk about that in the future anyways, once I get working on that. Hopefully by the end of the week, maybe my embroidery machine will be done. And yeah, can't think of anything else really. So we'll see. So as always, you can help me out here on the station by sending me, I bet you thought I was going to say by subscribing and clicking the like button and all that stuff. Nah, I never say that. Up to you. But what I was going to say, you can help me out if by 1, letting me know you want to be interviewed. 2, send me a couple of pictures of your latest projects or your favorite projects with a little blurb so I can feature them on here. I'm running out of stuff for that too. And if you've got suggestions for a YouTube channel or website that you think I should review, let me know. Just send all that stuff to me either in the comment section underneath the video or send it to me directly via email. My email address is in my resource list or in the show notes. So I hope you have a good week. I hope you're healthy, happy, and go out and create something beautiful. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.